Not 12 hours, not 16, 3 to 5. Let's start with a myth. We've been told that ancient humans lived on the edge of survival, that every day was a brutal fight for food, that they worked non-stop just to stay alive. It sounds logical, but it's wrong. In the 1960s, anthropologists began studying modern hunter-gatherer societies, groups living in ways very similar to our ancestors. And what they found shocked everyone. These groups, like the Sand People of the Kalahari, only spent about 3 to 5 hours per day on survival tasks. That's it. And that includes hunting, gathering, preparing food, everything. Which raises a strange question. If survival only took a few hours, what did they do with the other 19? Here's where things get interesting, because the answer isn't nothing. They weren't sitting around bored. They weren't trying to optimize productivity. They were doing something modern humans have almost forgotten how to do. They were living. Let's break it down. First, social time. A huge portion of their day was spent talking. Not small talk, not rushed conversations between tasks, real conversations, stories, jokes, arguments, teaching, passing down knowledge. In fact, anthropologists found that storytelling wasn't just entertainment, it was survival. Stories carried lessons about danger, cooperation, morality, and the natural world. Instead of textbooks, they had memory. Instead of schools, they had conversation. And it worked, because for hundreds of thousands of years it was enough. Now think about your day. How many meaningful conversations did you have today? Not texts, not emails, actual conversations. Chances are fewer than you'd like. Ancient humans weren't rich in money, but they were rich in time and they spent it with each other. Second, rest. Not the kind of rest you collapse into after burnout. Not scrolling, not numbing out. Real rest. Lying down in the shade, watching the sky, sitting quietly near others without pressure to perform. There was no concept of earning rest. Rest wasn't a reward, it was part of the rhythm. Work, then rest, not work, and more work and exhaustion. Third, play. This might be the most surprising part. Adults played a lot. Games, wrestling, dancing, singing, making music, imitating animals, laughing. Play wasn't just for children. It was how adults bonded, how they stayed mentally sharp, how they built trust within the group. Modern life separates work and fun. Ancient life blended them. Imagine finishing your work by noon, and instead of rushing to the next task, you spend the afternoon laughing, moving, creating, connecting. Not because you're avoiding work, but because that is life. Fourth, creativity. Without screens, without constant noise, the human mind does something remarkable. It creates. Ancient humans made tools, art, carvings, body decorations. They painted caves. They invented music. They experimented. Not for profit, not for an audience, but because the human brain naturally wants to make things. And when you have time, that instinct comes alive. Fifth, observation. This is something we've almost completely lost. Ancient humans spent hours simply observing the world, watching animals, tracking patterns, studying plants, listening to subtle changes in sound. They developed an awareness so sharp it's hard for us to even imagine because their survival depended on it. But it also shaped how they experienced life. They weren't distracted, they were present. Right now, your attention is being pulled in 10 different directions. Notifications, deadlines, noise. But for most of human history, attention was your greatest tool and people protected it. Now let's address something important. If life was so balanced, why did we change? Why do we now work 8, 10, even 12 hours a day? The answer is agriculture. Around 10,000 years ago, humans began farming. At first, it seemed like a good idea. More food, more stability. But farming required something hunter-gatherer life didn't. Constant labor. Fields needed tending, crops needed protecting, seasons dictated your schedule, and slowly work expanded. Hours increased, flexibility disappeared. Then came cities, then industry, then modern jobs, and here we are. We didn't evolve for this pace, we built it. And now we live inside it. But here's the part nobody talks about. Even though our world has changed, our biology hasn't caught up. your brain, your stress response, your need for rest and connection, all of it was shaped in a world where work took only a few hours a day, which means something important. The constant feeling of being overwhelmed might not be a personal failure, it might be a mismatch. Let's talk about stress. In ancient environments, stress came in short bursts: a hunt, a threat, a conflict. Then it ended. The body returned to baseline. But modern stress doesn't end. Emails, deadlines, bills, notifications, it's constant, and your body treats all of it like danger. That's why you feel exhausted. Even if you haven't moved all day, you're not tired because you're doing too little. You're tired because your system never turns off. Now let's go back to time. Ancient humans didn't measure their worth by productivity. There were no calendars packed with meetings, no pressure to maximize every minute. Time wasn't something to manage, it was something to experience, which is a completely different mindset. Imagine waking up without an alarm, working for a few hours, eating when you're hungry, resting when you're tired, spending the rest of your day with people, movement, and creativity. This wasn't a luxury, it was normal. And the craziest part, they weren't less intelligent. They weren't less capable. If anything, they were more adapted to their world than we are to ours. So, what can we actually learn from this? Because we can't go back. We're not abandoning modern life, but we can adjust how we live inside it. Here are a few things worth considering. First, rethink productivity. More hours doesn't equal better results. Ancient humans focused on what mattered, then stopped. There was a natural limit. What if your goal wasn't to work more, but to work better and then stop? Second, protect your rest. Not as a reward, not as something you earn after burnout, but as something built into your day. Short breaks, moments of stillness, time without stimulation. Your brain needs it. Third, prioritize connection. Real conversations, time with people, shared experiences. This isn't optional, it's one of the core things that makes us human. Fourth, bring back play. Move your body. Do things that don't have a goal. Laugh more. It's not a waste of time, it's part of how your brain stays healthy. You don't need to escape your life to feel better. You just need to realign it, a little closer to what you were designed for. Finally, accept this truth. The modern world runs on constant output, but the human system doesn't, and trying to force it comes at a cost. Burnout, anxiety, disconnection. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. For 300,000 years, your ancestors lived in a rhythm of focused work, deep rest, strong connection, and unstructured time. They survived, they adapted, they built the foundation of everything we have today, working just a few hours a day and living the rest. So the next time you feel guilty for slowing down, ask yourself this: is the problem that you're doing too little, or that the world is asking you to do too much? Because maybe the life you're trying to build isn't supposed to feel like constant work. Maybe it's supposed to feel like something else entirely. Something older, something quieter, something more human. And maybe that version of life isn't gone. It's just buried under everything we've built on top of it.